Convicts, that album is incredible on so many levels, but several of them come to mind. And of course, Peter Man is the one I would say for you especially is the most famous. So what do
Yeah.
you remember making that song, like how the concept and the idea came about?
I tell you, Prince Johnny C, one of the original Geto Boys, right? When he fell back out the group, he was one of the main producers at Rap-A-Lot, right? And Johnny C put together the chorus. He put together the track and everything. I came over to his house and he played it for me. He was like, "You got to have this." He was like, you have to have an identifying track, right? You know what I mean? And that's the time when everybody was doing the tracks, right? Right? Face was DJ Action, but then he did the Scarface, right? And then eventually became, you know what I mean, known as Scarface, right? But he was like, you have to have that identifying track. And that's how Johnny C, Prince Johnny C. Shout out to the Prince Johnny C. He presented me with that idea.
Yeah, because
I decided just to tell it, a gangster story. You feel me? And the rest was history. And that's definitely a favorite of mine as well, and of the fans, for real. I need to perform it more, but
yeah, you should. That's a great one. But the other thing, from what I already knew, and now you're telling these other stories, is people, I think, one, don't understand Jay Prince's mind as far as creativity and helping and talking and interacting with the artists, but then also the producers giving people ideas. Because I think a lot of people still have this perception that a rapper sits in a room by himself and does everything all by himself.
Yeah.
But, people are in groups. People listen to their producers. People listen to the executives, whatever. So for you, what did you see was this special energy that Rap-A-Lot had back in this 1990-91 era?
I think it was what the South had needed, right? Because hip hop had got out of just the little MC stage, right? Right. And it was getting serious. People wanted to be represented, right? Cities wanted to be represented. You dig what I'm saying? Right. And I think it was what the people had needed at the time, right? And then couple that with all the hungry artists, the hungry young men, right, that form the Rap-A-Lot web, right? I think their hunger, their determination, all of us, it gave the South something that they can jump down with, other than, you know what I mean, the booty music, right, and things like that. I think, and I think it was just the thirst of the South needing that proper representation at the time. You dig? And it just all came together at that time, and it was really a good time. It was really a good time in the 90s, the early 90s to the mid 90s, even a little bit through the late 90s and stuff like that. But those was really good times.
And even on that one, you shouted out the Ninth Ward, New Orleans. So that's,
Yeah. And on the Something Serious album, I had a song called Southern Thing that was dedicated to my upbringing in New Orleans. So, right. So, but with, times we change, and I be holding on to a certain era, right? And people be forgetting those long ago eras, right? But those eras, those are golden to me. You dig what I'm saying? That's a pool that I stumbled upon, and I be like, man, nobody's swimming over here. The water's clear. You know what I mean? I think I'm gonna stay right here. And I draw a lot of my energy, you know what I'm saying, from the past and things like that, so they propel me forward, most definitely.
Yeah. And one of the other legendary songs is the $1-900 Crook, because that one, of course, had the Geto Boys at the time, the lineup of the Geto Boys.
Yeah.
So for you, I would imagine somebody that grew up listening, loving, admiring Scarface, Willie D, and Bushwick, to then do a song with them on your album. What was that experience like?
Oh man, it was awesome. Me and 3-2 was amped to get that one done. I think that was like one of the last songs that we had did, right? And we was like, what? They gonna put the Geto Boys on here with us? Man, it was a good time. We really was looking forward to recording that record and completing that record. And the record came out really well. It was very creative. You know what I mean? Roc-A-Fella wound up doing them a little spin-off version of it with the 1-800 dollar hustler, or $1-900 hustler, one of them. But yeah, it was an awesome song. Awesome song. We really had looked forward to that. You know what I mean? I'm not a hater, nothing like that. I'm not as close with all of the guys, you know what I'm saying, as we once was in the past or whatnot. But yeah, me and 3-2 really look forward to that. That was a highlight of recording that album, to have the Geto Boys on the album. We was newcomers, you did. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and back then there wasn't, at least with Rap-A-Lot, that was one, I just heard it when I was listening, because it didn't put who was on the songs back then sometimes. So
yeah.
When I was listening to it, I just heard it, and I was like, whoa.
yeah.
And then just the creativity of it, of course, I really enjoyed in the beat changes and the energy and all that. It was very interesting, but what was it about, like, oh, I'm going to write a rap about breaking into a car and how to do it?
Because it was something that I knew how to do, right? So everybody was picking a topic, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, let me do a topic that everybody not just going to pick, right? You know what I mean? So it was something that I knew. It was something that I had did. It was something that I knew. So I felt comfortable going with that one. I hope I didn't get too many kids in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Trying to follow my instructions, but yeah.
Yeah. And then one thing I was always curious is on This Is for the Convicts, that singing part, that was on OG Style album too, right?
In fact, the E, Rest in Heaven, E from OG Style, I'm a part of Eric. Well, yeah, it was a skit that he had did. And Jay Prince was like, man, he's talking about the jail. That need to be on the Convicts record, right? That need to be the intro. So that's how we wound up getting that on the intro. The intro of This Is for the Convicts, the title track. Well, the track This Is for the Convicts. So yeah, that's how we wound up getting that right there. He had already had that idea down, and it just fit into what we was doing.
Yeah, because when I heard it, I was like, wait a minute, they made a mistake, but it fit so well for both albums.
It did. Shout out to OG Style, Big Boss, and E, Ed Jack. But yeah, that's how we came across that one, yes.
Okay. And then another thing that I really liked about the project was on Whoop Her Ass, how you had Choice kind of come in and provide the female perspective and not just let you guys talk what you were talking. So creatively, how did that happen and why did it happen?
Let me see. I'm trying to remember whose idea that was. I think that was a brainchild of 3-2 to do that song right there, if I'm not mistaken. And he probably suggested that Choice be on it as well, if I'm not mistaken. It's so long ago, but I think that's I recall that's how it had went down.
Okay.
And yeah, so when Choice come, she like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna get a female perspective of it, right? That's what she's there for. So, man, now when I think about some of those songs, right? They make me cringe a little bit, right? Because society, how things have changed so, right? I look at some movies and I'll be like, man, they would have never been able to get away with that in these days. You feel me? In these times, they would have shut that down. But the Convicts album is definitely a cult classic. You feel me? Definitely an underground classic. You know what I mean? So I am thankful for that record as well. But your taste change once you grow and things. You know what I mean? So I'm looking back in hindsight. That's all.
Well, that's why I think Finish the Job. If we start with the Convicts and we all the way to Finish the Job, that's what makes the growth and evolution. Because for me, listening to you on the Convicts, Till Death Do Us Part, and even Something Serious, there was a huge evolution as a writer, the way you thought, your stories, at least to me. So for you on those first three projects, what difference did you notice with your philosophy, with what you had seen in the world, how you wrote?
Well, the hunger and to be better and to grow as an artist, right? It was always in me because, you know, I was a fan of the music when we grew with the artists. You dig what I'm saying? The artists will come out, we look forward to their next album, right? To see what they talking about now. You dig what I'm saying? So we learned from a lot of the hip hop artists back then. And we would always look for, you know, the artists, they had that good 4 to 5 year run. You dig what I'm saying? So I always knew that it was room for me to get better, right? I knew that that growth was available to me. And you know, I wanted to take advantage of that. So that's why you always had a escalation from the convicts, where I was at with the convicts, to where I was at when I got with the Ghetto Boys. Then when I struck out on my own, you know what I mean, with the something serious. I definitely wanted to grow as an artist. I see artists that try to repeat the same success, but that was never a formula of mine. Never. And I bumped heads with the label a lot behind that, right? They'd be like, you need to do a song like such and such. You need to do a song like, you know what I mean, like we did before. And that was never challenging to me. It never motivated me. It never sparked my creativity if I felt like I had to go backwards. You know what I mean? And when you're a trailblazer, right? You know, you moving forward. You dig what I'm saying? A lot of people not gonna understand what's going on with you, but you are trying to find room to grow. If you just had that room to grow, you know what I'm saying? And that's what wasn't available over there at Rap a Lot. Didn't really have that room to grow, right? Had to get away. You know what I mean? And then after a while, things had really gotten tight. You know what I mean? And kind of constricting. But, you know, even with that, I always try to find a way to have a certain level of elevation when it came to my music, because I always wanted to get better and better and better, you know. So
Yeah. Well, I think you've done a great job of that, because the convicts, I think, showed your potential as great as it is. But I think as just on those next two projects, we saw the huge growth.